Apakah bentuk dan juga hala tuju hubungan dua hala antara Malaysia dan juga The Netherlands bergerak ke hadapan, dan bagaimanakah Malaysia sebagai sebuah negara tropika yang berdepan dengan ancaman banjir dapat mengguna pakai kepakaran dari The Netherlands untuk menguruskan bencana tersebut bergerak ke hadapan, dan bagaimanakah hubungan dagangan dua hala kedua negara? Bersama saya Rizal Zulkafli dengan Tuan Yang Terutama Karin Mossenlechner, Duta Besar the Netherlands ke Malaysia, dalam AWANI Global pada minggu ini membincangkan isu-isu tersebut.
Your Excellency, I think the Minister said something very interesting just now, which is innovations and research must be translated into something impactful for the people and for the society, and it has to address real issues out there. We've had a conversation before we started the interview, which is the fact that you've brought in a lot of experts into areas where flood mitigation systems need to be in place, and you've got all these experts, but until now we still haven't seen really concrete stuff being done out there. Maybe you can share with us that effort, and how do you think both countries can move forward to ensure that whatever expertise we have can be translated into something really meaningful for the people?
Yes. I think your minister indeed said something very interesting, and that is that we should not only focus on technology, we should focus on the implementation. What does it mean for the people? What does it mean, and how can we really bring positive change to people using technology? And she also said, in Malaysia we've been very good actually at making plans in the past, but we also have to put these plans into action. And I think that's, of course, it's the more difficult step, because ideas are easy, but putting these ideas into practice are more difficult. And in the past 2 years that I've been here, we've been trying to bring in a lot of Dutch experts in many areas, but also in the area of flood mitigation, flood prevention. Actually, the reason why we brought in the last mission was the floods in Penang, the flash floods last November. And a week thereafter, I happened to have a meeting with your Chief Minister, Lim Guan Eng, and I mentioned that we would be able to help out and prevent these floods maybe in the future with our expertise. Netherlands has been struggling with the water for decades, for centuries, for even longer than that. So we've built quite a lot of expertise in dealing with the water and dealing with the sea. So we brought in a delegation, a Dutch risk reduction team here, and they came with a report with findings, recommendations that can be implemented. But of course now it is up to the government to decide what to do with it and to see whether they can make use of it and put it into action. I think in many other areas we like to bring in expertise in innovative areas that can help to make a change in people's lives when it comes to smart building. Sustainable living, for instance, that is high on the agenda here. We're talking a lot about it. Sometimes it's just empty words. What do we mean with it? So I've been to a lot of presentations on these issues, but now putting it into practice and making it concrete, I think that's going to be the next challenge for Malaysia, Malaysian government.
And this relationship moving forward cannot just be depending on the funds coming in from the Netherlands. It has to be looking at a new way, or new ways of implementing things with expertise from the Netherlands, for example. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, it is true. I mean, we often get a question to send in expertise, but also to bring in the money. And well, the Netherlands is actually invited to many countries in the world that face problems with water. And unfortunately, due to also changes in climate, we see an increasing problem with floodings everywhere around the world, and we see many countries that are facing issues. We try to send our experts where we can, like we did to Penang, but we cannot send our money to the whole world and build water infrastructure everywhere. So what we can do is we can share our technology, but we also hope that local governments, like the Malaysian government, will want to invest in actually adapting the system and making the changes that are necessary. And Malaysia is, of course, not a poor country. I mean, it's not a developing country, so it's not a country that we can send aid to, development aid to.
The relationship between both countries, Malaysia and the Netherlands, started in way back in 1600. The new phase started in 1960s. Before that, there were a lot of Netherlands corporations from the Netherlands establishing their presence in Malaysia. But after the 60s, and now we've got a new phase of relationships between both countries. We're entering a new era, the new Malaysia. With this, are there some concerns with regards to how companies and corporations from the Netherlands are going to operate in Malaysia? What are some of the key concerns that they have voiced to you, your ambassador?
I think most of the companies are very happy with, also with some of the announcement of the new government. Yeah. For Dutch companies, I always say what is important for them is three things: a level playing field, transparency, and predictability. And the new government really has said it wants to create more transparency, it wants to fight corruption, which is very important, and most of the Dutch companies have spoken, all of the Dutch companies I've spoken to very much welcome this new approach of the government. What we also like is the announcement that the government will continue to be business friendly and will actually focus on the implementation of the rules of the rule of law, which will make also the level playing field issue, I think, is something that can that will be even further improved in the future. The predictability, of course, is something that companies are still looking at because they are still waiting to see what exactly is going to happen with the new government. And one of the areas that they have some questions about is, for instance, the sales and services tax and what's it going to mean for them. And for the companies that I speak to, the main concerns they have is that they don't know exactly what's going to happen, the uncertainty. So what they are asking for is to get information in time, get enough time also to implement new measures, because they need to prepare their system, they need to prepare their administrations, their IT systems have to be adapted. So that's one of the things that our companies are really giving back to us the whole time. Please ask the government to give us enough time to implement new measures. We understand new measures will be necessary, but give us the time to implement that and consult us in time.
Have you had any conversations with the new government? Have you had a chance to express these concerns and these issues to the new government?
Yes, well, luckily I have to say that your new government is very open also for meetings with ambassadors. So I've had the honor to meet many of your ministers, even your prime minister already. So of course I also passed on this message from our companies, and everyone listened very carefully and said that they would take this on board. So I'm very hopeful that we will see more consultation and more direct interaction between the government and the business community.
You mentioned something really interesting, which is transparency, and I've spoken to an ambassador before this, mentioning the word transparency and also integrity as well. He said that with now the new government is very serious with reform agenda moving forward. He will foresee more companies from his country coming to Malaysia to invest and to expand their presence in Malaysia. Do you see that happening with the companies from the Netherlands now that the government is very serious about being transparent and integrity? Do you see more investments coming into Malaysia from the Netherlands?
I hope it will. We will be able to bring in more investments. I have to say we are already doing quite well, and in the recent years the Netherlands has been always the second, third, fourth investor here. So Malaysia has already been a good destination for our foreign direct investors. But I think there is much more opportunity, and I hope also that your new government will be able soon, because I know they have to deal with internal affairs first, but also to travel, to come to Europe, to sell also what the new Malaysia has to offer, and to raise awareness. And as ambassador of the Netherlands, I'm based here, but I'm also trying, of course, to inform our companies in the Netherlands about opportunities here. But we cannot do it alone. Of course, it would be very good if your new ministers would also travel to Europe, to tell the story, to tell what Malaysia has to offer, to show what Malaysia has to offer. Your embassies in Europe also are doing that, of course, and I think we also have to promote it a little bit more.
It sounds like human capital development is important to support those businesses, because you mentioned that agriculture, the Netherlands is the second biggest agriculture exporter after the US. So obviously you need high tech to be able to produce such good products in such small place. Let's share about the importance of human capital development and also education for companies, or for countries to accept investment, because you can't just want investment, you can't just want expertise, but you also have to have the receiving human capital to be able to support those investment and those expertise. Share with us that thought.
Yeah, no, of course you need to invest in human capital and the exchanges, and I think there's a lot that we still can learn from each other, and also companies maybe sending young professionals over. I think that would be an interesting area as well. It's not just about the students' exchanges, can also be at a different level, of course. What we try to do with our embassy, for instance, we organized an Orange ASEAN event, which we called it Orange because orange is our national color. When we still were playing in football World Cups, now we unfortunately did not qualify, but you could see the orange team around there. So we called it Orange ASEAN. We were working together with students and young professionals in the ASEAN region and from the Netherlands, bringing them together in kind of workshops to solve real issues in the field of sustainability that companies are facing here. So we had many large Dutch companies in the region, like Shell, Unilever, participating, bringing in business cases and saying we want to have a more environmental friendly logistical distribution system. And the students together with the young professionals then came with solutions to these problems. And I think it's good for the students to work together, it's good for the exchange, it's good to learn working in an international environment, getting to know different people, but it was also a way to create an environment where ideas could come to life, where creativity was blooming, where different expertises came together, mixed with each other, and there was so much energy in the room, so many people were very much enthusiastically afterwards, and the companies really picked up on many ideas from just 3-week sessions. So I really believe in this exchange, I really believe in bringing ideas, bringing people together, and it can be for short-time sessions, it can be for whole studies, you can send people over for a whole study program. We also have to bring more Dutch students over to Malaysia, I think. We bring many interns here, and we have an active Malaysian Dutch Business Council, our business chamber, who brings in about 160 Dutch students every year already to do internships at Malaysian companies. I hope we can repeat and do the same, actually bringing Malaysian students over to the Netherlands and do internships there as well. So many ideas.
So there are all these things happening right now. So as an ambassador, what more can you do to also impact and to also create impact and to also maybe raise this relationship to another level altogether? Seeing that it's a Malaysia Baru, people are very optimistic. What are new ideas that you can maybe share with us with regards to the relationship between Malaysia and the Netherlands, and also Malaysia and also the Netherlands and also ASEAN?
I have to be a little bit modest, of course. What you can do as an ambassador, I always say we can open many doors for companies, for people. We can connect people, and then of course further action has to be taken often by the companies themselves. But I think there are already many things that have been done in the recent years, just by creating more awareness in Malaysia about what the Netherlands has to offer, and in the Netherlands about what Malaysia has to offer. And that is a large part of our work, and that it goes in many areas, but one of the areas was the area also that was also discussed today, the landscaping, for instance, sustainable landscaping, working on more livable living conditions for citizens. We brought in quite a lot of delegations with expertise in that area. And
so this could be the new areas of
yeah.
relationship that you see moving forward
yeah.
with regards to both countries.
Yes, I think there's a lot of developing going on in Malaysia. There's a lot of construction going on. Malaysia is really a country that loves to construct, it seems, when you come here. But I think if you do it in a little more strategic manner, also taking into account the sustainability that you want to build for a sustainable future, the livability for the people. I think there's an area where we could really reinforce each other, and that's also the future for Malaysia. A lot of people now living in the cities. Urbanization is going very rapidly, and you want to make the cities livable for everyone, and you want to continue to have an attractive living environment for, and not just for the elite, for everyone in the country. And that's something that you need to invest in, and that starts with a change of mindset. It starts with a change in approach in landscaping, in urban landscaping. And Netherlands has a lot of experience with that, because we are a very densely populated country. We did a lot of things wrong in the past. In our city development, and slowly we became actually aware of the fact that our cities were overcrowded, there were too many cars, and it was too polluted, and people didn't want it anymore. And then we started to change our approach. What we did, for instance, was giving the cities back to the people, to the pedestrians and the bicycles, by making the streets free of cars, just allowing public transport and bicycles. That was one way of giving the cities back to the people. I mean, I don't know if Malaysia would like that, but that's definitely a way of urban landscaping where we have a lot of expertise, and which really helped improve our living conditions. And cycling is, by the way, very healthy and good for the environment as well. So I always like to promote cycling here.
So it's a 360 approach to quality of life.
That's, and also involving citizens much more in all these initiatives and these projects, because what we do in the Netherlands is we don't believe that the government has all the solutions. We very much believe in an approach where we involve the industry, the companies themselves, the research institutes, our universities, and the local government and the citizens, and then from there look at the issues. What are the issues in the cities, and how can we solve them? And that approach really works very well. In Amsterdam, you see many new initiatives who were not actually something that came from above. They were not something that government actually made up. It was the ideas that people wanted, and bottom up it has been implemented. And it's really improving the living conditions in the cities. And well, Malaysia, I see that many people actually would like to do the same.
They go to Amsterdam and they see all these things, and they actually want to bring some of that back.
They like that, but I also, I mean, many people also have very good ideas. And if these ideas could be gathered somehow and be put into practice, I think you could also come with very good, actually, own ideas to improve the living conditions in your cities. And I speak to many Grab, I wanted to say Uber, I was an Uber fan, but now I have changed to Grab. But Grab drivers, because I like also to hear what normal Malaysian people have to say. And so I've heard so many good ideas from so many people in Malaysia. So I think if you would have a way actually to channel that and to make use of that in your innovation policy, then you could also have innovation from below, and that would really, I think, help in your approach to bring Malaysia to a new level of sustainable innovation.
On the issue of the palm oil export to EU, by 2020, palm oil export into the EU would have to be from sustainable palm oil areas or palm oil industry. And the countries like Malaysia and Indonesia see that as a challenge for palm oil to be exported into the EU, and they've voiced their concerns to you, seeing that one of the biggest exports of palm oil goes into the Netherlands. Have you discussed this with any of the relevant parties, and what have you got so far from the last discussion in February, when the Ministry of Trade from the Netherlands came to visit Malaysia? What are some of the progress that you've got from there?
Yeah, well, Of course, it is an issue that we are discussing very closely with Malaysia, and I sometimes say jokingly that past few months it seems like that we're all palm oil ambassadors. There's so much talk about palm oil recently that it seems like it's the only issue on our agenda. And let me say, we have a very broad economic relationship and trade relationship. Malaysia is exporting $6.7 billion every year to the Netherlands. And indeed, part of that is crude palm oil, and that is about, well, I think it's 16% of it.
Okay, but it's not the bulk of it, right?
It's not the bulk. Sometimes it seems like it. That's why I'm saying it. It's not the bulk of it. The bulk of it is really in electronics and equipment, machinery. So the relationship is much, much broader than that. And then when it comes to the palm oil discussion, that was not about a ban on palm oil. There was a discussion about palm oil being used in biofuels. The EU was reviewing its renewable energy directive, looking at how we can make our energy more sustainable for the future. And one of the issues of discussion was the use of edible oils in biodiesel and biofuel. It's not just about palm oil. Actually, for the Netherlands, there was also discussion about using food in your tank. Is that sustainable in the future? Because you have to replace land that you can use for agriculture by land that is used for biofuel. That's not a real sustainable actually solution in the long run. So there was already a principal discussion about all the vegetable oils in the tanks, and one of the issues with palm oil was that there was a discussion in Europe about the fact that palm oil is also raising some concerns about deforestation issues in areas, and how can we solve it. So yes, the Netherlands is has been in a dialogue with Malaysia for a long time already about all these issues, even before the discussion started. With the European Parliament, and we've already been working very closely together in the recent years and to increase the sustainability of the palm oil that is produced here. And we're both partners, actually, our companies and NGOs and Malaysian companies and palm oil associations are members of the Roundtable on Sustainable Palm Oil, where they discuss all these issues. So it is it's an issue that we talk about very frequently, not only talk about, but really also come with solutions to make palm oil production more sustainable. I think that's in the interest of Malaysia as well as of all the consumers worldwide. And I'm very glad that in May we also reached actually a solution for this new directive on renewable energy, where I think the measures that were proposed originally by the European Parliament, which were considered a bit too drastic for Malaysia, phasing out palm oil too quickly from biofuels, now has been modified, and the new plan is to phase out the vegetable oils and not just palm oil in a gradual manner by 2030, which was the original plan actually. So Malaysian companies were already aware of that, and I don't think that the industry here is very shocked by this approach. So I think we found a reasonable and a good solution to that. I hope that our relationship will also not be dominated by palm oil.
And it's 16%.
It's 16%, and and 16% is not the palm oil that we're talking about for biofuel. That is even a much smaller amount. It's only 2% of the export to the Netherlands. So 2% of the export of Malaysia is palm oil that's being used for biofuel, and that is a relatively small amount of the total trade volume. And I think there's a lot of interest from Malaysia to continue with the trade with the Netherlands. Actually, we hope that we will be able to open the negotiations on a free trade agreement between the EU and Malaysia soon.
What is stopping that right now? What's the main hurdle right now for that to happen?
I actually don't know.
Okay.
We have been talking to the previous government, but it had been stalled until the elections. And while the elections are over, I can understand that the new government is going to look into its new policy, so it wants some time to study it. But I'm not sure if there are any real stumbling blocks. I hope there are not. I really hope we can relaunch these negotiations very soon, because it will be in the interest of Malaysia and in the interest of the EU. We are concluding free trade agreements with many countries now in the region. We just concluded one with Japan, which will be very important for our relationship with Japan. And not having an FTA, a free trade agreement with Malaysia, would actually be negatively impacting on our trade with Malaysia in comparison to other countries in the region. So I really hope Malaysia is not going to be left behind and that we can start these negotiations very soon.
Dan itu mengakhiri temu bual saya bersama dengan Tuan Yang Terutama Karin Mossenlechner, Duta Besar the Netherlands ke Malaysia, membincangkan kerjasama dan juga hubungan dua hala kedua negara. Teruskan bersama kami di Astro Awani. Saya Rizal Zulkafli untuk Awani Global, berita segala dimensi. Salam hormat.